Well, news that is just coming in, the Health Department has called for caution over the suspicion of Nipah virus infection and 2 recent deaths in Kerala's Kozhikode district. The State Health Minister Veena George has held a high-level meeting and reviewed the situation. The Health Department has said that they are going to be issuing an advisory and in fact have said that these 2 deaths following fever were reported at a private hospital. The cause for these deaths, according to the government, has been listed as quote-unquote unnatural, but it is widely suspected that these were linked to the Nipah virus. Well, Uma joins us now with the very latest. So, Uma, we don't have confirmation yet on whether these deaths are in fact linked with the Nipah virus, but there is a Nipah virus alert in Kerala. What more can you tell us?
You're right. Nipah virus has not yet been clinically established nor linked to these deaths yet, but as we know, Kozhikode has had at least 2 outbreaks of the Nipah virus. The first time that it happened was in May 2018, where in fact you had about 17 deaths that were reported. In this particular case, the first death had in fact occurred on August 30th, and that was of a 49-year-old and in a place called Varatonkara. And the second death, in fact, happened yesterday of a 40-year-old. He was a native of Tiruvallur near Vadakara, and this Vadakara happens to be near Maratonkara. Nipah virus, as you know, is a zoonotic virus, which means it spreads from animals to man, and it is also spreading among human to human. Also, there can be this spread of this virus. And what we understand from what the Health Minister has said, Veena George has said, is that there is a third person also who is said to be in the ICU, and this person is in fact related to the death that happened of the 49-year-old on August 30th. So what we understand is that his 25-year-old brother-in-law and 2 children, 4 and 9, have been kept in isolation after these symptoms of Nipah virus have been reported. Symptoms of the Nipah virus may seem almost similar in a sense to the COVID-19, because you have the sore throat and the cold that is usually reported along with that, but there is also muscle fatigue and there is dizziness, and many people do report some kind of headaches, and in fact in fatal cases it's been related to the to encephalitis that happens, and that's in fact the cause of the deaths that happen in the case of the Nipah virus. So right now, emergency meetings are on because, as you know, Nipah virus had created such a huge scare that even a film was made, which was a medical thriller that was made in 2019 called Virus, and that was in fact based on the Nipah virus itself, the outbreak that had happened the previous year in 2018. Remember, all this happened before the COVID came, and even before that, this kind of a scare about people-to-people transmission and a virus that would be a killer virus had created a huge scare, and that's why the film Virus had come out in 2019 and was very widely watched and appreciated. But right now, the Kerala health authorities saying that they suspect that this could be Nipah virus. Clinical confirmation has to come from the NIV, and that is something that is still awaited. Back to you.
All right. Thanks very much, Uma, for joining us with the very latest. So, 2 suspicious deaths believed to be linked with the Nipah virus have, raised concerns in Kerala. The Health Minister has held a review meet. An advisory has been issued. Now, remember, the Nipah virus has not been confirmed in these 2 cases, but has only been suspected at the moment. We will track the details of this story very closely. Meanwhile, we've also tried to list out, for the benefit of our viewers, the most common symptoms and, of course, the severe symptoms that are linked with Nipah virus. Well, moving on to the other big story that we're tracking, the Drug Controller General of India has issued an alert for counterfeit cancer and liver medication. Now, this after the World Health Organization flagged spurious versions of the Takeda Pharma's cancer injection as well as the Gentium's liver disease. Vedant has the details.
Another big blow for the Indian pharmaceutical industry after multiple WHO alerts and foreign country alerts on Indian medicines, Indian manufactured medicines. Now an alert on cancer injection Etcetris and liver medicine Defitelio. Now after the WHO alert, the drugs controller, DGCI or the drug regulator, has issued instructions to monitor the sale of these falsified medicines. So the state drug controllers have been asked to monitor the sales of these 2 medicines. The WHO had said that counterfeit injections from at least 8 batches are in circulation. In fact, this was not just with regard to what's happening in India, but also in Turkey. Now, drug regulators across the country have been asked to be vigilant and be alert. In fact, doctors and patients both have been advised to be particularly vigilant as far as these two medicines are concerned. Now, these fake versions are in circulation across the country. Etcetris, of course, is used for, as I mentioned, as a cancer injection, and Defitelio is used for blocked vessels as far as liver ailments are concerned. So these are, of course, serious ailments we are talking about, and there could be serious health risks and ramifications if these fake or falsified medicines are consumed. Now, the centre has tightened its nose on the pharmaceutical industry, particularly after countries like Uzbekistan and Gambia actually flagged Indian manufactured medicine. So there has been a nationwide crackdown on pharmaceuticals. Show cause notices have been issued to at least 11 drug manufacturers, and nearly 20 pharmaceuticals have been asked to shut. Their entire operations have been asked to shut in just the past 6 or 7 months. So the government has also introduced a central quality test for drugs before they're exported. So there's a central standardization mechanism that's now in place for export quality drugs. But the big question is, does Indian domestic pharma also need stricter vigil? Now, as far as fake drugs are concerned, it's a big menace. There's a fake drug empire running in India. In just the past 1 year, 6 states have, there's been a drive against fake drugs in 6 states, including UP, Bihar, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Haryana and Telangana. Spurious drug rackets have been detected across 6 states. Fake drugs were manufactured mostly in Himachal and Haryana, and they were transported to various states, and the suppliers pasted invoices of other goods to actually fool tax officials. After this, it was a joint effort between the central drug regulator, the CDSCO, and state drug regulators, and there was a joint drive that was launched against these fake drugs. So, of course, it's a big menace, and it comes at a time when there's a lot of trust deficit surrounding Indian pharmaceuticals.
Well, moving on to other news now, as the G20 Leaders Summit concluded with great fervour in Delhi under India's presidency on Sunday, the United States has now also touted it as an absolute success. In a press briefing on Monday, the US State Department official spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters, "We absolutely believe it was a success. The G20 is a big organization. Russia is also a member of the G20. China is also a member of the G20. So they were, of course, said that it was in fact a grand success, saying that the Delhi Declaration that actually talked about maintaining territorial integrity and territorial sovereignty, and the fact that Russia and China were also party to that declaration, in fact, has meant that the G20 has been a huge success. And while trade, economy, defence and cultural cooperation were the main topics of discussion between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud during the latter's state visit. The two leaders also co-chaired the first meeting of the Strategic Partnership Council after it was formed in 2019. Parmeshwar has the details.
भारत के लिए सऊदी अरब हमारे सबसे महत्वपूर्ण स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर में से एक है। हमारा आपसी सहयोग पूरे क्षेत्र की शांति और स्थिरता के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है।
After having participated in the G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman held extensive talks with our Prime Minister and discussed shoring up bilateral trade and defence ties.
आज की हमारी बैठक से हमारे संबंधों को एक नई ऊर्जा, एक नई दिशा मिलेगी और हमें मिलकर मानवता की भलाई के लिए काम करते रहने की प्रेरणा मिलेगी। कल हमने मिलकर भारत, पश्चिम एशिया और यूरोप के बीच इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर स्थापित करने के लिए ऐतिहासिक शुरुआत की है।
There is cooperation to build the future of our country and create opportunities. Today we're working on the future opportunities. There is a huge agenda to be working with. We are working through this council to achieve these accomplishments.
This is a big deal. This is a real big deal.
In a bid to stimulate economic development through enhanced connectivity and economic integration, India, along with other members of the G20, has now entered into a historic memorandum of understanding to develop an India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor. This proposed corridor will comprise of two separate corridors, the Eastern Corridor and the Northern Corridor. The former will connect India to the Arabian Gulf and the latter will connect the Arabian Gulf to Europe. As per the MOU, the members intend to meet within the next 60 days to develop and commit to an action plan with relevant timetables. However, although the memorandum sets forth the political commitments of its participants, it does not create any rights obligations under international law, which means that the members are not necessarily bound by it. US President Joe Biden joined hands with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince at the behest of Prime Minister Modi to solidly back the project. This also comes at a time when Italy, a G7 power, under Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, is poised to withdraw from China's sponsored BRI. China's Belt and Road Initiative, often called the New Silk Road, is an ambitious plan to develop two new trade routes connecting China with the rest of the world. But it's about more than infrastructure. The project has expanded to Africa and Latin America, significantly broadening China's economic and political influence. The Middle East Corridor MOU comes at a time when the Chinese BRI project is being questioned not only outside the country but also within the country, as a number of participating countries like Pakistan and Sri Lanka have no money to pay back Beijing debts due to high interest rates and are being forced to swap debt with equity in the project. Parmeshwar Bawa for NDTV.
Welcome back to the other big political focus. Chandrababu Naidu's arrest, of course, has sparked widespread protests across different parts of the state. The Telugu Desam activists have, in fact, spilled onto roads despite prohibitory orders that have been put in place. This is, they say, a do-or-die battle for the party.
Protests by Telugu Desam activists across Andhra Pradesh after former Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu was sent to Rajahmundry Central Jail late on Sunday by an ACB court in Vijayawada and became remand prisoner 7691. The former Chief Minister is accused of conspiring to divert government funds meant for upskilling youth.
So without producing any kind of evidence, how can you say that Chandrababu Naidu had committed a crime or was part of some kind of a corruption in the skill development issue? So it is purely political vendetta. It is purely witch hunting. Not able to face Chandrababu Naidu democratically. The Chief Minister Jagan Reddy, with the help of his puppet police department, had cooked up a false case without producing any kind of evidence. They are trying to frame Chandrababu Naidu as a kind of a corrupt politician, and yesterday they have sent him.
Prohibitory orders had been imposed fearing that trouble could escalate on the ground. The YSRCP said Naidu would pay for what they called his wrongful actions.
Whatever the department has done and whatever the crime he has done, they have put forth before the court with strong evidences, and giving remand itself is the proof that prima facie court is also strongly believing that it's a strong case.
Even as Chandrababu Naidu braces for a legal battle, then Finance Secretary P.V. Ramesh said his statement to the CID appears to have been misinterpreted and insists that all due procedure was followed by the then Chief Minister and his department in release of funds to the Skill Development Corporation. Politics in Andhra Pradesh tends to be personal and nasty. If for years Chandrababu Naidu took a jibe at Jagan Mohan Reddy for his time in jail, it is now payback time for the YSRCP. The timing of the arrest of Naidu just a few months before elections, however, could be a major setback to the Telugu Desam, for who this could be the beginning of a do-or-die battle. With Madhu, Lakshman and Venu in Andhra Pradesh, Uma Sudhir, NDTV.
Well, the BJP is in the process of forging an alliance with the JDS in Karnataka ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha polls. A seat-sharing agreement, however, is the big challenge, and talks are currently underway between the party leaders in the state. Pratibha Raman with the latest.
The humiliating defeat in the recent state elections, paved the way for both the JDS as well as the BJP to join hands and confront the Congress that won with a thumping majority. While the alliance between the JDS and the BJP in Karnataka for the upcoming Lok Sabha election has been finalized, the seat-sharing agreement between the two remains unclear. BJP leader B.S. Yediyurappa has opened up about the number of seats agreed between the two, which the JDS patriarch has denied.
Happy about that. Devegowda ji met our Prime Minister. They have finalized about 4 seats. For that I welcome them.
JDS is strong in 8 Lok Sabha seats of Old Mysore region, and its influence in the Vokaliga-dominated areas will strengthen the BJP. The constituencies include Chamarajnagar, Mandya, Mysore, Tumkur, Hassan, Bengaluru Rural, Kolar and Chikballapur. The Congress, however, encroached into the JDS-BJP vote bank in the same region during the recent assembly election. This, despite BJP bagging 26 out of 28 seats in the 2019 Lok Sabha election when the Congress and the JDS had formed a pact. JDS's Devegowda still thinks his party cannot be taken lightly.
Modi hತ್ರ ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ನಾನು ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜನತಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಯ ಮುಖಂಡರು ಅವರಾಗೇನೆ ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಪಟ್ಟಾಗ ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದು ಸತ್ಯ. ಆದರೆ ಯಾವ ಸೀಟು ನನಗೆ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ.
Devegowda's son H.D. Kumarasamy also talked about the alliance with the BJP while recollecting the time in 2006 when he joined hands with Yediyurappa, paving the way for BJP's first entry into South India. While the JDS hasn't performed well in the recent election, the BJP is looking for a helping hand like it did in 2006. Both the parties are trying to test the waters with the grand Lok Sabha election that is fast approaching. With camera person Kumar, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Rescuers are also racing against time to find survivors in the remote hit areas of Morocco after the deadly earthquake, the deadliest in more than 6 decades. The death toll in Morocco has climbed to over 2,800 people. Search teams from Spain, the UK and Qatar have joined the Moroccan rescue efforts after an earthquake measuring 6.8 on the Richter scale struck the country late on Friday in the high Atlas Mountains, with the epicenter 72 kilometers southwest of Marrakesh. US President Joe Biden has issued a call for unity above politics as he commemorated the 22nd anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. Speaking from a military base in Anchorage, Alaska, Biden denounced what he called the rising tide of hatred, extremism and political violence at home and abroad. In New York, the skies where the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center formerly stood were lit up with the tribute in light. The annual display sends up 2 powerful beams that can be seen from miles around from dusk to dawn in memory of the lives lost in the September 11 attacks 22 years ago.
Well, one of the big takeaways at the G20 meet, which has just concluded, is the Global Biofuels Alliance. What exactly are the implications of this? How is this something that can actually benefit billions around the world? Joining us now, a very special guest, Mr. Hardeep Puri, the Minister. Thanks very much for joining us. Bear with me, sir. I'll ask you a couple of basic questions because people need to really understand what we are talking about. What is a biofuel?
Let me give you an understanding which I developed on biofuels. I was posted to Brazil, a country which is widely regarded as a pioneer nation in biofuels. And the Brazilians, have one great advantage. They have 3 times our land area, 1/6 our population, and 22% of the world's freshwater reserves. So the Brazilians produced ethanol from sugarcane and they became global leaders. The Brazilians produced sugarcane ethanol, and when I went to Brazil in 2006, I found that on a normal day you could go to a petrol pump driving a flexi-fuel car, and dependent on the price of petrol or ethanol on that day, you could adjust your car's computer to buying more of one or the other. Brazilian universities did research on Jatropha, other biofuels. I was posted in the United States. They make ethanol from maize. And there was a trade issue because I think at some stage the Americans would have thought that a lot of Brazilian ethanol could come there. So if I remember correctly, the import duty was 54 cents a barrel on import of this thing. India's journey on biofuels didn't start today. It's actually, in all fairness, we attempted to do it many years earlier. When I was ambassador to Brazil in 2006, the then agriculture minister, Mr. Sharad Pawar, had gone to Brazil. The Manmohan Singh government decided to have a 5% blending policy in 10 of our states and union territories, but we ended 2014, Vishnu, just with 1.5% of biofuel blending.
Right.
In 1.5% meant we could produce or procure. No, we produce more ethanol, but it went into alcohol. Right. It went into other uses. 38 crores for mixing as a transportation fuel. Right. Prime Minister set himself a very, according to him, a very realistic and modest target. And in the next 8 years, another 10%. We had a target of 10% blending by November of 22. And now is the good story. We were able to achieve that 10% target 5 months before the target date. When we saw that we had gone up from 38 crore liters, by the way, we did a calculation in order to do 20% blending, we needed 1,000 crore liters of alcohol. Right. We were already well on our way to getting 10%. We revised the target. Don't wait till 2030. Let's do it by 2025. Brought it 5 years in. Right. Today we are procuring 566 crore liters already of ethanol from different feed. We are making it from sugar largely, increasingly now, starting now from maize, from agricultural waste, parali. A second generation, we have 5 plants, from bamboo, from broken food grain, whatever. But the good news is that that 20% figure which we had, which was a mindset problem, dictated by 2 considerations. One is that the automobile manufacturers told us that if you have 20% blending, you don't need to change the parts or the engine of the car, which was self-serving advice, but well taken.
How do you respond to those who say that the moment you get into various blends, the efficiency of engines come down?
I'm coming precisely to that. They said that the efficiency would come down and therefore, that engine can't take it. So what is it? You get flexi-fuel engine. Now, what happens is, biofuels are being used in flexi-fuel engines all over the world by the same manufacturer. So it stands to reason if a Japanese manufacturer of a flexi-fuel engine can sell a highly successful car which does not have any acceleration problems in Brazil, he or she should be able to do it in India. Same for a German. Few days ago we unveiled a car. I think it's a Toyota model, an Innova High Cross, which has a dual use, electric and ethanol. Right. Now, what happens is up to 40 kilometers an hour, if you drive it, it will work on the electric this thing. After, if you accelerate over 40 kilometers, it starts using the ethanol, but whilst it's using the ethanol, it's charging the battery. So these technological branches have taken place. By the way, since you are doing such a in-depth discussion, there were also people who said, don't go for biofuels, it will threaten your food security. Wait a minute. Today you proved that in 9 years, we saved 73,000 crores on the import bill, but you were able to pay your farmers 76,000 crores. Today the Indian ground level agro and fuel economics has proved that a transition into deeper use of biofuels is also good for our agriculture.
Okay. Is this a stepping stone towards the ultimate goal of moving to all electric?
I would answer that question very carefully. All electric, if the grid is not fully green, would be grey.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to put it this way. Biofuels is the most effective instrument, by which I mean ethanol, biogas, etc., most effective instrument for the transitioning to net zero.
Correct.
But it also will be overtaken by the time when green hydrogen will come. Your automobile manufacturers, I already have one of my major companies which is now wanting me to, unveil a fuel cell, a hydrogen fuel bus for use.
So how many years would this be effective? Before the industrial base exists for green hydrogen in India?
All right. I'm going to answer that question very cautiously. If you get 20% hydrogen, 20% biofuel blending by 2025, on which I can make a reasonable assumption, we'll get it done. Between 2025 and 2030, you will see the pace being quantified. Because we are planning to do 5 million metric, 5 million tons of green hydrogen by 2025, I think is grossly conservative, inadequate. You'll do much more than that. If by 2025 and 2030, I move up the biofuel usage and in comes green hydrogen, I think between 2030 and 2040, you will see fossil fuels fading away and green hydrogen slowly but surely coming in.
But depends on price.
No, price
That's
has
the big problem with green hydrogen.
No, price will be viable in India. Why? Vishnu, the gas does not lend itself to transportation. So Indian companies are also already selling green hydrogen, green ammonia to Nipah in Germany. They've already contracted to sell green ammonia to the Singapore Electricity Authority, which are getting new GE plants, etc. I've signed an MOU.
Right.
And so what do you require? You require demand in a place, you require the production capacity in a place, and you require consumption in that place itself. Because you can't transport the gas. So if anybody argues with me that you can produce green hydrogen in a desert about 10,000 kilometers away, no, it will not be cost effective.
So it has to be developed in various centers.
So today, my first meeting 2 years ago, I'm 2 months into this ministry, was with the US Secretary for Energy, Jennifer Greenhalgh. I was very touched by a tweet she did. In that tweet she said, we are very happy that the Global Biofuels Alliance has been inaugurated. This is based on a deal done between Brazil, US and India at the Goa meeting in July. She talked about 111. What is 111? 1 kilo for $1 for 10 years.
Okay.
Now the price will come down. What do you need for green hydrogen? For green hydrogen you need massive amount of local green power. We have demonstrated that you can bring down the cost per unit of solar, but more than that, see what your entrepreneurs are doing. There's one company, I won't name them because it will be a commercial advertisement otherwise. They've got plants all over the coastline in India. Right. Each one 3,500 acres. What do they do there, Vishnu? They take the water up to a height of 2,500 feet and just drop the water. You need that green energy and you need an electrolyzer. I can tell you with confidence that it's large countries like India, Brazil, China, United States, where every electrolyzer manufacturer will go. Why will he go there? Because the consumption is going to take place there. Okay. So where are we? If I have to answer your question, honestly, I don't know whether we are at $2 or $2 plus, but I think the price will start coming down.
It has to.
It has to.
Because demand will rise. Sustainable aviation turbine fuel. How much is it going to save us? Number one. And number two, where in India do we stand with this? I know trials have happened.
Vishnu, let me first give you the global facts. There is a US company, Honeywell. They've already run a plane on 100% ethanol, biofuel. They've run it. Right. I know the CMD very well. He used to be the India in charge, a very good friend of mine. He's now the global in charge. We've had many discussions. But I'll give you the hard facts as I know them. We ran a trial on the basis of which one of our oil companies with AirAsia. They operated a flight from Pune to Delhi. And that flight from Pune to Delhi was on the basis of 1% sustainable aviation fuel. We calculated that if we were to make 1% sustainable aviation fuel mandatory for this thing, that is all aviation turbine fuel has 1% blending, it would become SAF. Okay? Right. We would need 14 crore liters. That would directly benefit 500,000, 5 lakh of our farmers. If we mandate instead of 1%, if we mandate 5%, we will require 70 crore litres.
And so the benefit for farmers will be massive.
If 1%, 5 lakhs are benefiting, I know the same guys will do it, or they will, more will do it. Look, in one thing we've been able to do, which is not known in the public, in India, like in Brazil, of course is because God has been kind to them. You know, they have freshwater reserves, they have land, 1/6 the population. But in India also, movement for biofuels will end up helping your agriculture sector. If you're worried about food security, we are already diversifying the feed. We've just brought in much more of maize. We just did some price from about 0, it's gone to 1.7%. Agricultural waste, 5 plants, third generation plants will have gas, but more than that, you know, you are also utilizing the food part, broken grain, etc., which otherwise will not be used for consumption. That is the issue.
One final question, just coming back to the International Biofuel Alliance. What do you intend to do with this? How is it going to grow? Are you going to be sharing fuel with other countries, getting biofuel, or is it just institutional right now?
I don't want it to be, personally, who am I? My idea is not to make it a rigid intergovernmental organization where people are spelling. I want people who are actually involved in the biofuel business. Unica of Brazil, Grain Council of America, my people, my industrialists, all those guys who deal with biofuel, to sit down and brainstorm. We will do it virtually to begin with, and I am 100%...
So what is the goal?
Whose role?
The goal of the alliance.
The goal of the alliance is to give a major impetus to biofuels per se, to deal with issues of definition, standard setting, technical specification, all that in a real-time mission mode.
Right. By which time period?
Well, I think we'll get started. I was only waiting for that, the Honorable Prime Minister and President Biden, Lula, all the consuming countries standing there to see that once that picture is gone about, see the impact. The fact that a premier channel is interviewing me on biofuels means somewhere it has resonated.
No, it has to resonate, otherwise we are in deep trouble in this country. Thank you, Minister Puri, very much for being with us. So this really is, I would suggest, a stepping stone, but it's an important stepping stone as we try and meet our climate change goals, bring down carbon emissions, and also be realistic about how farmers and other groups in the country can actually earn and benefit from a transition to other blended fuels.